In this video, I'm going to talk to you about timeline defaults, which allow us to set the same property values for every tween in our timeline. Alright, so we have everything happening in the right order that we want. In the next video, I am going to mess with the timing of the durations and the position parameters. But before we do that, I want to show you something kind of cool. And that's that every animation here is animating in from an opacity of 0. Alright? And I know that we want everything to fade in. So something I can do to sort of save me a little bit of time and trouble is set what's called a timeline default, all right? So back up here where I'm declaring the timeline or I'm creating it, inside of here we have a vars object where we can set things like, I don't know, the repeat. So watch this, I could say repeat 1 and I could say yo-yo true, just like I could with a tween, all right? So these are special properties of a timeline. So let me run this, and you're going to see now that the animation is going to play forwards, all right, do-do-do-do-doot, and then it's going to play backwards. So these are special properties that I can set on a timeline. Right now I don't really need those in there, but there's another special property that I can set, and it's called defaults. And this is an object where I can say that every tween in this timeline is going to have sort of a shared or default property. So I'm going to say that the scale is going to be 5, just to be really sort of obvious and stupid. So now you're going to see that every tween is going to come in from a scale of 5, except for these, because I've explicitly set the scale. Now I don't want to use a scale of 5, but I'm going to use the default for an opacity of 0. And once I do that, I don't need to specify the opacity in every tween. So I can reduce the amount of my code pretty drastically by getting rid of the opacity in all of these tweens. So I just got 1 or 2 more left to do. So since every tween uses opacity, I'm going to set it as a default. So now I've cleaned up my code, I've made it a bit more readable, and the next time I go to test this, you're going to see that everything still fades in, but I no longer have to put the redundancy of having opacity inside of every tween. Pretty cool. And lastly, I've told you a few times that the back ease is my favorite ease, and you know what? I'm going to show you this. I'm going to put another default in here of ease, and I'm just going to put back in quotes. And remember, the back ease is going to overshoot the target value a little bit. So let's run it. And what do we got? You see, you just got that little bit of a bouncy action on everything. Everything just sort of goes a little bit past where it should and then goes back into position. Now, once we make some of these tweens longer, that's going to be a little bit more noticeable. And one place where a back ease doesn't serve us well is in the fading in of something, okay? So I'm going to run this, and you're going to notice that the demo thing, the background, you hardly even see it come in because part of the ease is now going past the value of 1 and then going back to 1, all right? And you can't have an opacity greater than 1. So for this first tween here, I'm going to explicitly set the ease to be linear. And now when I hit run, you're going to see that you can actually see that fade in again, all right? I might make it a little bit longer in the next video. We'll see. But for now, setting the opacity and the ease as a timeline default saves me a whole bunch of timing, all right? So there you have it, and in the next video we'll finally tweak the timing and placement of tweens using the position parameter.